What's interesting to me is the 2003 wildfires that caused me to lose a house in the woods were blamed on a person named Ricky Lee Fowler. If you learn about the concept of Gematria and apply it to the stories that are put out in the news, you'll realize that 90% of the stories are fake, designed as psychological operations, or simply to spoil people's mood, and are scripted according to the Gematria code. Now, you don't need to know about Gematria to realize the government is a Freemasonic dictatorship, and the terrorist attacks and mass shootings are staged for political reasons by this government, and to steer people toward accepting the agenda of the New World Order. But Gematria does help as further proof, as a kind of supplementary form of proof, in a sense that it reveals how there is order behind how all these artificial events and various Judeo-Freemasonic crimes throughout history are scripted, and they are scripted by this code. 9/11, for example, wasn't just a random date. These people like to play God because they believe in Kabbalah, and in Kabbalah it states that God created the world by merging the letter with the number. What's interesting to me is the 2003 wildfires that caused me to lose a house in the woods were blamed on a person named Ricky Lee Fowler. And Ricky Lee Fowler's name has all kinds of salient shit encoded into it via Gematria, especially his last name, Fowler. The Gematria of Fowler is 79, 34, 83, and 29 in the 4 of the base ciphers. I like to work with the base ciphers because otherwise people might say, oh, you're using too many ciphers, you can make anything match up that way. On the other hand, you can't just work with one cipher in Gematria. They would not be able to script these events with just one cipher. But they do mostly work with the base ciphers when they script these events. Who is Fowler? He is a murderer, because the fire he started killed people. And that's the script we are presented with. Look at the Gematria of the word murder. There is a perfect overlap in 3 of the 4 base ciphers, 79, 34, 83, a perfect overlap with Fowler. But the coincidence doesn't end there. There is that 29 in Fowler as well. The word fire comes out to 29, the word pyro comes out to 29. And since there is a 34 in Fowler, and he is an arsonist, curiously enough, the word arsonist conveniently comes out to 34 as well. By the way, the 2 major destructive fires that comprised the 2003 firestorm event were the Cedar Fire and the Old Fire. These fires were started on October 25, 2003, with a date with 58 numerology. Actually, it's kind of unclear, but it says the Old Fire actually started on October 21, 2003, not the 25th, which is a date with 54 numerology. You can see in this video and in Zach Hubbard's work that these government-created disasters are scripted in accordance with the sports events that are happening around the time that these disasters happen. In 2003, the World Series was taking place between October 18 and the 25th, right on the dates where the fires fell. October 21, 2003 is a date with 54 numerology, like the word baseball. And all these sports, by the way, are scripted by this code. They're not organic. The team that won the 2003 World Series were the Florida Marlins, where Marlins have the Gematria of 86 and 49, like the word wildfire. And the Old Fire was started in Waterman Canyon, where the word waterman has a Gematria of 49. There's probably a lot more connections here between these fires and the baseball and the Super Bowl that happened around that time. That's just too much work for me to figure out. But anyway, all the Gematria rituals of the tyrants who control us are tied into the Gregorian calendar. So the dates and the numerology of dates are just as important as the numerology of the key words that are involved in these rituals. October 25th, 2003 is a date with 58 numerology. 58 is an important number because the word Freemasonry is 58, Rosicrucian is 58, Secret Society is 58. These are all references to the Judaic entities that run America. And they love to set these fires in October. October is the lone month with the 33 Gematria. 33 is a hugely important number to them. They fixed it so the words like police, masonry, secrecy, federal, and order all have Gematria of 33. Like the 33 degrees of ascendance in Freemasonry, the police and the federal government are Freemasonic entities. United States and almost all the nations on Earth are Judeo-Freemasonic dictatorships that pose as democracies. Another curious Gematria match is how the word Freemasons equals 115 and arsonist also equals 115. I'm not going to go into all the theories behind these, how these fires aren't natural, like what kind of technology or tactics or methods they might be using to create and control these fires. Other people have done that. I just want to decode the numerology behind the scripting of these disasters. Just a funny little tidbit. How could they resist attacking a town with a fire, the name of which is literally an anagram of the word firestorm? And the only time this town was burned was in the event called 2003 Firestorm. My take is this Fowler guy does not exist. This is a fictional person on whom the disaster is blamed, whose name is coded specifically to reflect what he is supposed to be. This is done to mock the Goyim, who are not aware how this code is being used to script such events. If we look at the Gematria of the phrase cedar fire, there's a perfect overlap in two of the ciphers with the word conspiracy. The word federal is 51 as well. Cedar fire also has a 69, like the word Saturn. Do you know what meaning Saturn holds to our Judaic rulers? Saturn represents Satan. Saturn is also the keeper of time and is associated with death and judgment and is worshipped by the synagogue of Satan. In a way, these fires were like a tribute to Satan if you look at the numerology. The fire that we're told someone named Ricky Lee Fowler had set was called Old Fire. Just like Cedar Fire, Old Fire also has that 69 in it, like Saturn. Just wait until you find out the numerology of the date the jury supposedly convicted this guy. Old Fire affected an area called Arrowhead Highlands, basically what they call the Lake Arrowhead region. What's interesting about the word Arrowhead is that it has the 93 numerology, just like Saturn. Another thing about Arrowhead is the 48 and 51 numerology. 48 like Freemason, 51 like conspiracy. Just check out Zach Hubbard's blogs. You'll see how in almost every event they'll encode these specific words into the event. Just search up the numbers in his blogs. Both fires, the Old Fire and the Cedar Fire, were started with a flare or some kind of a flare-type device, or so we're told. If you look at the numerology of flare, well, what do you know? It comes out to 93, just like Saturn. See, it's like the fires were a satanic tribute. Flare is 42 as well, like Freemason. Just perfect convenient overlaps here. Let's get back to the name Ricky Lee Fowler and look at the Gematria of his entire name, because we got quite a few more interesting things that stand out about his name Gematria. We have a 249. The phrase Novus Ordo Seclorum, which you can find on the dollar bill, which is New World Order in Latin, has a gematria of 249. And burning down homes and flooding places with weather warfare is very much a New World Order agenda. But we also have quite a few things encoded into his name that are of religious nature, of the Jew religion. If you write out 666 as words, you get 156 and 87, another very nice overlap. If you write out 33, a huge Masonic number, that comes out to 156. And let's not forget how these fires happened in October, a month with a gematria of 33. The word fires has gematria of 33. The biblical phrase number of a man has gematria of 156. Why are there 33 degrees in Freemasonry? Because the human spine has 33 vertebrae. So when you ascend up the 33 degrees of Freemasonry, it's like you're ascending up the 33 degrees, or the 33 vertebrae, up to the brain. The name Ricky by itself has a gematria of 55 and 44. The word burn has a gematria of 55. Kill has a gematria of 44. It's very artful, the way his name was coded into this, which is probably not a real fucking person, and also why Ricky is spelled with an IE at the end, and not simply a Y. Lastly, let's look at the 84 in his name. Again, the words with 84 gematria perfectly pertain to our masters. Masonry, Zionism, all have gematria of 84. The event itself, Firestorm 2003, has gematria of 62, like sacrifice, and 56 as well, like all-seeing eye, like Society of Jesus, again, terms that pertain to our rulers. Now back to the cedar fire. We're told the cedar fire was started by a hunter. Hunter is 31 and 32. Cedar is 31 and 32. The hunter's name, they're telling us, was Sergio Martinez. If we look at the last name Martinez, what jumps out is the 110, 43, and 47 gematria. In the Frank Baconis cipher, the word burn is 110, killing is 43, Masonic is 43, government is 47, authority is 47, agent is 47. The name Sergio has a gematria of 89, like chaos is 89. The full name Sergio Martinez has a gematria of 80, tragedy is 80. It has a gematria of 106, destroy has a gematria of 106. The phrase ordo ab chao, which means order out of chaos in Latin, has gematria of 82, which is the motto of Freemasonry. The prime numbers are also extremely important in Kabbalah. Sergio Martinez has a gematria of 199, with 199 being the 46th prime number. Sacrifice and chaos sum to 46, with the words kill and murder summing to 46 in Hebrew gematria. Of even further interest is how the cedar fire started outside a community called Ramona, and is listed as signal being the cause of it, which either seems to refer to a flare or some kind of a smoke bomb. The words Ramona and signal have a perfect overlap in all four of the base ciphers. Look at how much of an overlap signal fire has with the word sacrifice. Signal fire, 170 and 62, sacrifice, 170 and 62, Mason, 62. Pay attention also to the 37 in both Ramona and Signal. Sergio also has a 37. The fire was first spotted from a sheriff's helicopter. Sheriff is 37. It was also reported at 5:37 p.m. On October 29, 2003, a group of firefighters attempting to defend a house in Riverwood Estates near Santa Isabel became entrapped and overrun by the fire. One firefighter died, another firefighter sustained severe injuries, and 2 others were hurt. October 29, 2003, also had a perfect numerology to conduct a sacrifice. The date numerology being 62, 44, and 17. Sacrifice is 62. Kill is 44 and 17. Where this happened, in Riverwood Estates, the word Riverwood also has interesting gematriot, such as 114 and 129, like Holocaust is 114 and 129, Holocaust being defined as a great loss of life, especially by fire. Riverwood also has gematriot of 51 and 57, like conspiracy. Makes you wonder if those 4 firefighters might have been given orders that specifically put them in a spot where they could be sacrificed to the fire. Let's also mention the Playground fire, which eventually merged with the old fire. Playground has a gematriot of 133, 52, 137, and 42. Government equals 133. Authority equals 137. 137 is also the 33rd prime number, and as you can see, masonry, secrecy, and order sum to 33. Playground is also 52, like the Cabal, like NWO. The Playground fire was started by a catalytic converter, or so we're told. Catalytic converter 110, like Burn 110. There's also a 79, which fits with murder. Now let's look at when the jury delivered the verdict of death to Ricky Lee Fowler for his crime of starting the old fire, which was September 28, 2012, the date aptly having 69, 42, 31, and 51 numerology. Again, based on some of the numerology of these fires, it really does seem like these fires were a tribute to Saturn. Like Old Fire has gematria of 69, Freemason is 42. The word old by itself has gematria of 31, as did Cedar. The words federal and conspiracy tie into 51 as well. By the way, it is said that all the fires combined burned 750,000 acres that month. Zeros don't have to count in gematria, so 750,000 can be expressed as 75. New World Order is 75. Order out of chaos is 75. There are probably many more pieces of this gematria puzzle that I'm missing or overlooked, considering that these disasters, such as fires and floods, often tie into the numerology of the baseball and football scores of the years in which they take place, usually referring to the closest World Series or the closest Super Bowl that are the closest in time to the disaster. Sports and their outcomes are all scripted by this number code. That's why Zach Hubbard can divine individual scores of teams and players ahead of time, whether it's baseball or football or basketball. It's interesting how this YouTuber's name, Fed Smoker, overlaps perfectly with Freemason in all 4 of the base ciphers. Interesting considering that he despises the very Freemasonic federal government and the very Freemasonic police. Let me demonstrate through a fictional sample of how they stage events based on gematria. Zach Hubbard's book has a murder by numbers chapter on the deaths of celebrities, politicians, and other famous people. The Cabal loves to off its members by the numbers when they're not needed anymore. So let's say they wanted to kill off T. Martin. Let's look at the gematria of T. Martin, just in the 4 base ciphers. That comes out to 86, 23, 76, and 40. Conveniently, the word blood sacrifice has 86 in reverse full reduction and 76 in single reduction. So right there, they would already be rubbing their hands with joy at this coincidence, this convenience. Now, by what method to kill off T. Martin? Oh look, the word drowning happens to have a 40 in it, just like T. Martin. So we would get a news report that T. Martin died by drowning. It was an accident. But on what date do they kill him off? Well, it would probably be a date with 86 numerology and maybe a 40 numerology, or it will have to do with the number of days after T. Martin's birthday or before his birthday or something like that. It was going to take me a long time to divine out a hypothetical death date to give, but that's how the game is played. This is a simple example of how they play the game. And it's not like T. Martin is part of the fucking cabal or has any significance that they would kill him off by the numbers. You know, you probably have to be like in the Hollywood or the music industry for that. But this is just a hypothetical to illustrate how this thing works, how the elites conduct these rituals by the numbers, such as killing off members of their own cabal when they're not needed anymore, like politicians and celebrities, staging weather warfare disasters, staging White House-related phony drama, and so on.